Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Rama. So today we're going to look at some Dagurugurugurdagur variations, some very advanced ones, and some other different. Most of this is all about learning patterns that are different from what you used to, putting things at the start of the mantras and breaking up the bol jatis so that you're kind of off beat and not just playing 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So you're putting things at the start like 2 and then having your 4 so that you're having 6 and then 2 at the end, or it continues on. Also, the Dagurugurgurdagur variations are very interesting because you're now learning how to manipulate the lai and the bol jati in order to create very kind of interesting patterns. And it's very interesting working with these because there's so much to them, and you're not just talking about musical notes. You're talking about speaking something but then playing 5 notes, and you don't actually see them written out in a musical staff notation. So we have this concept of matras, and if you're in 4/4 time, which we are, and we're playing das Pahira taal, then you always have to find this pattern of what things are fitting within 1 2 3 4 beats of that measure of time. And people will teach these mantras, and they're vocally taught, and they're written with absolutely no concept of this, where is the matra. And it's very difficult. It's almost like learning Chinese, because you're given these things and you practice them, but you don't practice them in taal, in a framework or a structure. And most of the knowledge handed down in Mridanga these days is lost because no one can stick it to anything. There's no way they can use it in kirtan because they have no idea of these basic principles. So I'm finding like practicing Mridanga is very important, getting your hands to a certain level, but like 95% of Mridanga playing honestly is taal, and understanding what that is, what mantras are, and how every one of these complex mantras fit into a framework of 4 beats every time. It has to, like, what part of that mantra fits on the 3rd beat. You know, is there a space, and is it an offbeat? Are you coming in on a da? Is the guru gur there? So it's like extremely scientific, and if someone plays these without that, it just, and you hear it all the time, the kirtan just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. The kids are just playing the Mridanga, and there's absolutely no beat there whatsoever because there's no proper framework. So I've spent like a lot of time working on this, trying to figure out what the actual mantras are, as they've never been given in this way before, at least not to me. And so anyway, so let's start with this one. This is very interesting because before we were just playing like Dagurugurgurdagur. Everything's very easy to follow. It's a simple framework. So here we got 4 matches, right? 1 2 3 4. So here we have Dagurugur, all in one matra. Dagurugur, right? So if you go in 1 2, Daguru, 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 Daguru. And we use this a lot in kirtans, especially Tisra Jati, where the Dagurugur will be all in one matra. Very important. And second matra, Dagur. So this is Dagena, right? Dagena. Also used in Tisra Jati a lot. Dagurugurdagena, Dagurugurdagena. But then that framework, see the Dagurugurdagena, then you have Dagurugur, da, right? Daguru. Dagurugurdagena, Dagurugurdagena, Dagurugurdagena. So it's Dagurugurdagena for 3 mantras, and it's split up in a very different way again. So you can split these mantras differently every single time and make the mantras fall in different places in order to fit a taal. So here we have Dagurugur, Dagur, Dagur, Dagur. So 4. So how does this look for the first part? So if we're counting 1, so this would be like just 1 beat, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But within those, there's 4 matras as well, because we're in 4/4 time, right? So we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then each one of these pieces have to fit on that, right? So then you have Daguru, dagur, 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 right? Daguru, dagur, dagur, dagur. 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 So the da is on all of those matras, and the Dagurugur is all in its own matra as well. So you have 4 das all in a row. Daguru, dagur, dagur, dagur. So it's da. So you have to get that first. And then your hand has to be fast enough to fit those gurugur and genas every time in there as well. Daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, dagur, 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 right? So it's da, and then you have other stuff fit in there as well. Second part. So now we have, so that's just the first part of the mantra. Then the second part goes, and this is totally different, so it slows down a lot. So like playing this at slower speeds doesn't really work. It has to fit into a certain speed, at least up to higher speeds, in order for it to sound proper, because you've pushed so much stuff into the first one. But then the second mantra, on the first mantra you only have a da. So then before we had a Dagurugur, so you're hitting the Mridanga 6 times. Now we're only hitting it once. So at slower speeds, there would be quite a decent pause there. Second part, the Gurugur is on a matra. Let's see here. Then the second, so this mantra is Dagurugurgurdagur. Dagurugurgurdagur. So the first mantra is on the da, then the second mantra is on the gurugur, third mantra is on the gurugur, last mantra is on the dagur or Deregena. So how does this sound, right? So let's look at this again. So let's look at the second part, right? Dagurugurgurdagur. That's the single speed of it. Double speed. Dagurugurgurdagur, 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 Dagurugurgurdagur. So you have the da, gurugurgurdagur. Before we had da. Now we have da, guru, da, guru, da. So very interesting. So how does the whole thing sound? So let's see. Daguru, dagur, dagur. Wait. Daguru. Daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur, daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur, daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur. So that's how it sounds. It is a little difficult, even for me, to switch between all those different things and show it to you. But I think I got it right there, and certainly at the first part we did. So Daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur, daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur. So you see the daguru, guru, you have to have that space there in order to come into that next matra, matra. Else you're gonna speed your second part of your mantra up too much and you go out of taal, right? Everything has to fit so that every time that metronome's hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur, daguru, dagur, 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 daguru, guru, dagur, Dagurugurgurdagur, Dagurugurgurdagur. So you have to wait for that Dagurugurdagur, right? So here we have Dagurugur, right? Dagurugur, Dagina, Dagina, Dagina. So that's the first part. Daguru, 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 Daguru. So if you're playing this in taal, because that's a little bit slow, then we have to have. So it'll sound like this. Hare Krsna. Right? Dagurugurdagur, Hare Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krsna Hare. So you can use it as a longer piece. You can use it just as like a little infill. It's a very kind of intense mantra, obviously for advanced players. But it's really nice to see how these things can manifest as you get better at Mridanga and understand taal and how it really empowers you to do stuff like this, you know? So So very cool. Very cool. So that's the first version. Another version here. So here we have Dagurugurdagur, Dagurugurgurdagurdagur. So this one's a little easier in the phrasing because we have Dagurugurdagur, matra on Dagurugurdagur. Second part, Da 1, Gurugur 2, Da 3, Gurugur 4. So it's a little bit easier to process. We're not stuffing so much into the Laya Jati here. So here we have Dagurugurdagur, Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Daguru, 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 So that's the second one. Dagurugurdagena, 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 Dagurugurdagena. And remember, you can make these das closed or open. I actually prefer them closed for the most part, even if I'm going quite quickly, just because it does seem to help me find my spacing. But you can keep them open as well. And that's a personal choice, and you can alternate as well depending on the effect that you want. So then you can go to Dagurugurdagena. Hare 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 Krsna, So you can alternate, you can expand on those. Just, they're rolling beats. They're really interesting to the not only the performer, but also the audience, and hearing these different expositions. And keep in mind, this is not music. It has nothing to do with music. It's not a musical presentation, as much as everyone really seems to want it to go in that direction. This really is about learning a way that you can offer your devotional service to Krishna. And that is what this is about, spending your precious time on something like this in order to offer it to Krishna, I believe is an extremely valuable asset, versus, obviously not taking the time and just only doing, materialistic activities. There's so many things that people do with their lives and can be doing. And to have something like this constantly growing as a seed in your mind, it is very powerful, no matter where you are at spiritually. And they have all of these kirtan standards and kirtan core, and like a standard of kirtan where they just teach you to parrot certain mantras and certain times and certain ways, and don't say this and don't say that and don't do like this. It's such a superficial offering and such a superficial way of looking at kirtan, and it's quite disturbing to me that without something certifying you, saying that you will conform to what ISKCON has laid out, and as long as you meet that minimum standard, which I wouldn't even consider a standard, then you're able to sing. And it's completely absurd, because there are people out there that really do understand the deeper meaning of what we're doing. And that's rarely ever found in kirtans, certified or not, people taking courses or not. Kirtan is just such a special medium that very few people seem to really understand what its importance and purpose is. And if there are people out there that understand it, then you really need to take that shiksha from them and try to enhance ISKCON's presentation of kirtan, because what they're doing right now just is clearly not enough. Because if it was, I wouldn't have had to have spent a third of my lifetime now scraping information together and spending endless hours, thousands of hours of my life just trying to figure out what a kirtan actually should sound like, and what that can be. So there's definitely some groundwork there, and excluding people just based on a minor formality like that is is creating a situation where you're going to miss out on a lot of those people that do have something to offer but would never submit themselves to something like that. And many people would not be interested in that, especially people like Andrew Prabhu. If he was here, he's spoken out so many times against a lot of this stuff and against ISKCON in general. And a lot of people don't know that, but using him as a vehicle to promote certifications and stuff like this, I don't think is appropriate. But anyways, getting back to Mridanga and the mantras at hand, those are the two Dagurugur variations. So now we're going to look at some Deregenas. Deregena, right? Deregena, Deregena, Taga, Deregena. Deregena, Deregena, Taga. So this is very easy because we're in Das Pahira taal. We have Laya Jati of Chatur. We have a Bull Jati of Chatur. Very simple. Nothing kind of unique happening here. But we are learning to use this genatage, Deregena. Genatage, Deregena. With a bit more of an advanced technique. We haven't seen this one yet. So Deregena, 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 Deregena. And then the Lagu, Tereketa, teretere, ketatake. Deregena, 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 So let's look at the bottom end, the gurus here. This pattern's important. Deregena, deredere, genatage, deregena, deregena. So you have to make sure you get that deregena, deredere, genatage, deregena. So that gena is very has a lot of emphasis placed on it. Deregena, deregena, deregena. And you also need to get that balance of the gaze, right? Because we have deregena, deredere, genatage, deregena. So you have Deregena, Deregena. So you have 5 in a row there, right? Deregena. So you want to be able to hear the spacing of those in an appropriate measure of time. If they're not all at the same speed, again, you're going to lose the effect of the mantra. You're going to go out of taal and time signature. The kartals are going to wonder what's going on. So you want Deregena, right? Like a clock. Deregena, Deregena, Deregena. Then the tag is on the offbeat. Tag, Deregena. Then you come back onto the offbeat. So you have Deregena, 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 Deregena. Deregena, taga, deregena. And then the taga, this one is the offbeat, doesn't have a lot of power. It's more the taga, right? It's important to get all these nuances because again, they are what form the mantra, having the right emphasis in the right areas, the right balance of the mantras. All of these things have to be there, else again your playing just doesn't work. And playing Mridanga is extremely advanced, and the more I really understand what I'm doing with it, the more nectar and you know, the sheer volume of what can happen with the Mridanga is kind of spellbinding compared to what's available for, you know, really any other percussion instrument around there. There's just a lot going on, and it's really endless what you can do with it. And as good as your hands become and as quick, you can just fill that Laya Jati with more and more hits and just take it to newer heights, you know? So we've got that. So let's look at another one here. So we got Deregena, Deregena, Taga, Deregena. Deregena, Deregena, Taga, Deregena. Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krsna Krsna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, So that's a fun mantra. This video has kind of gone decently long here because we had a lot to cover. So I was going to cover more, but I think that's enough to digest with the Dagurugur and the Deregena, Deregena. So I'll try to write all this out so that you can understand it. And yeah, even if you can't play this stuff, it's very magical to see that it does exist and how it forms. And at some point in your lifetime, at least this is there to reference. And when your hands and stuff become eligible, then this knowledge is there and you can use it and implement it. Or, you know, who knows, maybe people use this in 100 years. I don't know. Is it necessary? Definitely not. But it's super cool. And if you're into this type of stuff, it's really interesting. So I hope you enjoy. Hare Krishna.